Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Hello and welcome into the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm your host tonight, Cassidy Wood. Bob Pomp and Richie Walsh are on their way to Ireland as we speak. They'll have all of our reports for us over the next few days from Ireland. So you guys are stuck with me tonight, and we'll get into all things Steelers and Ireland facing the Vikings. But the Pirates pulled off a pretty impressive win tonight in extra innings, taking down the Reds, spoiling their playoff hopes. And it was, of course, Skeens on the bump. He had to go 3 scoreless, no hits. I'm joined alongside Chris Mueller. And Mosey, just one more series for the Pirates this season. I guess, what are your takeaways from tonight? Exciting for Skeens, he got it below 2, but I mean, that's about as exciting as it gets, right?
He is going to end up having the lowest winning percentage, 500, of a Cy Young winner in history. Felix Hernandez for the Mariners was the previous standard bearer. I believe he went 13-12 about a decade and a half ago and had an ERA near 2, and so that was a 520 winning percentage. Cassidy, I'm going to be honest, because I like chaos, because I like egg on the face of teams that I think deserve it because of how little they did to augment the roster around Skeens. There was part of me that wanted him to go 6 or 7 innings, 1 run allowed, unearned, so that the ERA would drop all the way to like 195, and then he would have to take the hard luck 1-0 loss so that he would end his year 10-11, and that he would probably, I would think, unless some baseball writer tries to get cute and funny, unanimously win the Cy Young Award with a losing record. Because to me, that would just be a bold underline of how bad the Pirates were and how uncommitted they were and how all talk they were about building a roster around a guy whose ceiling performance-wise really is best pitcher in Major League history. Like, that's how good this guy is. That's the golden ticket that the Pirates have been given. And they have so far just said, ooh, cool, and done nothing about building anything around it. So I almost, in some twisted way, wanted to see whatever the most embarrassing outcome was for the team in the hopes that in the offseason they get so much crap from people about this that they actually do something to build a team around Paul Skeens. But that's kind of a long shot hope, I think, to sort of pin your beliefs and your optimism on.
Yeah, and Ben Sherrington, you know, we've heard him say time and time again, there's guys coming up, right? There's prospects that are coming up in this farm system that we can get excited about. Since the trade deadline, the Pirates have brought up quite a few guys. I mean, do you see any hope there?
I see one major piece of hope. I mean, I think they have the best prospect in baseball in Connor Griffin. He was the minor league player of the year from Baseball America. He's 19. He reminds me a lot of Mike Trout, circa, 2010 or 2011, I guess it would have been. I think 2011. He had a cup of coffee with the Angels very briefly in 2010. And then he absolutely explodes on the scene or whatever and should have won the Rookie of the Year and the MVP award. But it's that kind of an athlete, you know, a guy who could play shortstop, or a guy in this case who might end up moving to center field someday, and Connor Griffin, a true 5-tool player. I think the hope has to be that they allow him, if he's precocious enough, to fast-track his way through the minor leagues, because if he can play shortstop and he hits like this, then you just got an MVP type of player. Like, if he's hitting 330 with 25, 30 home runs, middle infield position, like, you have an MVP on your hands potentially, and you have him on a rookie deal. And so I think that's going to be one of the Pirates' hopes, is that, oh, this guy is as advertised. He's every bit as good in AAA as he's been so far in the minor leagues, and we can bring him up. But having him around, Cassidy, and maybe having more help, obviously, on the way in the minors, because they do still have more pitchers that I think you can be excited about, is not an excuse to say, well, hey, guess what? We've got all these young guys. We don't have to do anything else. Yeah. They need to try to add to this roster with players that cost money, who come with an established back of the baseball card if they ever want people to believe that they are serious. And I would argue at this point that if Griffin is as advertised, let's say a month into his minor league year next year, and everybody else, Skeens is here, and they haven't done anything, and their roster looks just as bereft of hitting talent, then we can kind of put to bed the notion that anything they say about seriously wanting to compete should be believed.
Yeah, so essentially you don't think one bat, like let's say Connor Griffin works out and he lives up to the hype and everything, that one bat is not going to fix this situation.
No, they need 3 or 4. I mean, they need a guy who's going to play shortstop. He could fill that, role if he comes up in, let's say, May or something like that. They just need bats. You can't go into the season next year with this hope that, hey, look at Jared Triolo the last month plus of the season. Wow, isn't that something? I don't want to hear that. I don't think Pirates fans want to hear that. They don't want to be sold hope based on the performances in the short term of players whose long-term track record is not very good. That's how we ended up getting the Ke'Bryan Hayes extension, and look what that turned into for the Pirates, an albatross that they ended up trading away.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. All right, guys, this is our Penn West University question of the night. Just tap your phone, scan the QR code. Who will win on Sunday, the Steelers or the Vikings? Plain and simple. Go ahead and answer there. We're going to head to our first break, though. We'll get to some callers right after this. Give us a call, 412-575-2600. Welcome back to the Nightly Sports Call. This is our Xfinity tweet of the night. Paul Skeens is now the Pirates' single-season strikeout leader among right-handed pitchers. He has 211 strikeouts, now ranks 6th all-time among all Pirates pitchers in a single season. So like we said at the top of the show, just impressive outing by Skeens, of course, drops that ERA under 2. Great. And you know what? They blunder the Reds' chances of playoff hope. So great there. But we have a big game, a lot to talk about. Callers are calling in about the Steelers traveling to Ireland tomorrow. I was over there at practice today, Molesy, and hopes are high with this team. I mean, I asked Aaron Rodgers point blank through 3 weeks now, how would you assess where this offense is? How comfortable are you in this system? And I mean, he said after the game he played terrible. So I said, now that you had a chance to look at the film, how do you feel? And he said, well, I do think I played terrible, point blank. And he needs to come out and connect with his receivers a lot better. They need to get the run game going early. I mean, it's the same things we've really heard time and time again. But hopefully they can do it against a Vikings team whose defense is really scary right now, coming off also a huge defensive performance, 5 turnovers, 2 of those ran back for touchdowns. So it's going to be a very tough situation for the Steelers.
Yeah, I think the Brian Flores defense is what you get when you combine a coordinator who has mad scientist level intellect and knows defense just back and front, and then you pair that with a team that's got a lot of talent on that side of the ball and has a really high collective IQ on that side of the ball. I mean, if you want to stay up late at night before this game on Sunday morning and get very worried about the Steelers' chances, just go look at what the Vikings show pre-snap. It looks like a hellish thing for a quarterback to try and diagnose. Mm-hmm. And the Steelers are doubly, maybe in trouble is the right word, or the right phrasing or framing here, because all those things you mentioned about their offense, they don't run the ball well, Rodgers hasn't had time to gel with his receivers still, are pretty much byproducts of an offensive line that still hasn't figured it out. I mean, you can watch all 22 cut-ups of them apparently running the wrong blocking schemes, kind of having no rhyme or reason to their running game. I think Pat Myers should be on a hot seat. We know that coaches don't really get fired mid-season here, even position coaches. But that group hasn't meshed yet. Broderick Jones and Troy Fautanu. Jones a little worse, but both of these first-round tackles disappointing. It does not, let me put it this way. I always get accused of being Mr. Negativity and everything else, but it does not look like a game that they should win on paper based on what they haven't done offensively and what we know Minnesota is capable of doing defensively with Brian Flores.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I mean, not only do you have the Steelers offense, but also the Vikings offense. That's trying to figure it out now with J.J. McCarthy injured and out for who knows how long. Carson Wentz now under center. I mean, I guess the only saving grace is he's been around for a long time. So there's that. He has veteran.
He's got talent, though, Cassidy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like there's the anecdote going around that everybody knows is true. Mike Tomlin throwing Anthony Richardson under the bus. He used it to explain kind of the Wentz situation, where he didn't want Richardson to get hurt in last year's game because he was worried that Joe Flacco would come in and cook them, and that's exactly what happened. And I think you have a little bit of that with Wentz, who's got more God-given abilities, I think, than J.J. McCarthy, but whose main problem has always been doing a little too much, being a bit of a space cadet out there. Well, you can get away with that if you're in Kevin O'Connell's offense, so I think it's understandable why they'd be more scared of Wentz. Here's the other thing. You've got Justin Jefferson on that side. You have Jordan Mason, who I think is really good. And Jordan Addison, coming off of suspension, is one of the better wide receiver twos in the entire NFL. So if they can get Wentz into a position where the Steelers aren't able to tee off on him in the pass rush, he's talented enough to make plays within structure if he can stay within structure.
Yeah, and as we know, as we've seen, the DBs aren't really gelling right now. So those receivers are very, very scary.
Just run a deep crosser. Run a deep crosser, Cassidy. That's all you have to do. Just run a deep crosser, and it's a sure touchdown.
Right. All right, let's get to some callers. We have Jim in Green Tree. Jim, what's going on? You there? All right, on to the next. Frank in Cranberry. Frank, how are you?
Yes, thank you for taking my call. I was wondering about Washington, number 80. He seems like a defensive nightmare. It seems like he catches everything that's thrown to him. He's good over the middle. I just can't figure out why he hasn't been used more. Thank you for taking.
Yeah, Frank, I agree with you. I mean, I think part of the problem is, like we've said, the offensive line has had its struggles. And in a way, I think they're kind of using Darnell up on the line a little bit to block because he is that big. I mean, we even joked with him at training camp. Do you think you can line up and be a left tackle? Like, just joking, but he kind of was like, I mean, yeah, probably. So I think they're using him much more in the blocking game, which we saw all last year too. I think he had that great touchdown last season, and then he had one early this season, and I thought maybe that would open the door for him more, and maybe he'd get more receptions, but he's not even really getting I don't think he had one target in the last game. So yeah, it's very confusing to me because I know his hands aren't the best. He's not the best catcher, but he can do it. And if anything, he'll body the defender he's up against. So I do think he probably needs more targets than what he's getting right now.
Well, Rodgers did look for him to get that holding or that interference called, that illegal contact call. I think it actually was now that I'm thinking about it, a holding in the end zone that got them a fresh set of downs against the Patriots. And that's what he's good at. I mean, he's 6'8" or 6'7", 285, probably 300. Who am I kidding? Nobody should be able to check him one-on-one. I think part of the reason that you're getting a lack of – I think when a guy like Frank calls in, Cassidy, I think what he says is, why aren't there any creative, interesting routes that kind of get Darnell Washington potentially the ball in space? And you sort of hinted at the problem. They're leaving him into block because they don't trust their line. It's all well and good to have this 4 tight end offense you could throw out there if you really wanted to, and have all 4 of them on the field at once and create these weird matchup problems. But that sort of presupposes that your offensive line is going to be able, as a 5-man unit, to block effectively and send those guys off on creative passing routes. And I think we both know, and I think everybody watching this show or listening to this show would know, that they have not shown that ability yet as a line. And so that's why you're probably, one of the many reasons, you're probably not yet seeing Darnell Washington doing some of the stuff that I think fans look at how big he is and dream that he could do out there.
Yeah, and to add to that, Pat Freiermuth is getting a lot less targets than I anticipated going into the season, especially after that extension that he got in this offseason. So it's just they're not targeting, bottom line, they're not targeting the tight ends as much as I thought they would, especially this season with, like you said, how many additions they have in there.
Well, think about this. So Rodgers is throwing the ball on average, I think, still either the quickest or top 3 quickest time to throw type players or type quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, Baker Mayfield's down there, too, near the bottom as far as fastest release. But not all of those stats are created equal. You could have just really good combos and guys winning early on their routes, and you're getting down the field with the ball. And I think that's kind of what Tampa does. In Rodgers' case, think of how many targets Warren's getting. Think of how many very quick screens you're getting to DK Metcalf and quick game stuff. A lot of those tight end routes, those guys aren't as fast. They take time to develop. And again, I'll go back to, if you can't trust your line to hold up for, let's say, 3 full seconds, it's going to limit what you're able to do, I think, as an offense.
Yeah, I agree with you there. All right, guys, we're going to head to break. Again, give us a call, 412-575-2600. We want to hear from you guys. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Nightly Sports Call. I'm your host tonight, Cassidy Wood, joined alongside Chris Mueller. In less than 24 hours, the Steelers will be on that flight to Dublin, Ireland. You know, it's tough travel, Mosey, honestly. I mean, they're going to travel through the night, and then, as Rogers said today, if you can stay awake on Friday, you'll be feeling good come Saturday. It is interesting, though, the NFL changed the rules. Initially, we thought they were going to be out there all week, but starting this season, they're not letting teams, like they're restricting teams and making them go out on the same day so no one gets a competitive advantage, which, I mean, I can understand that. But, man, what a tight turnaround for these guys.
I don't really understand that from the NFL's standpoint for this reason. I would think if you're the league, you want the best quality game to show off your product in Dublin. You're getting a new audience. It's not a London game. Like this specific instance, this is a brand new audience really for you as far as an NFL regular season game. You're sending both teams out this late in the process. As Rogers said, you have to keep these guys awake. Like it's an hour longer than a flight to Seattle, but you're flying through the night. And I don't know. I just think it gives you the chance of both teams coming out very sluggish early on in the first quarter, which is something I would predict because they didn't really adjust to the travel schedule. So it just feels like a little bit of a weird tactical miss from the NFL here for no reason other than they decided they wanted it to be so.
Yeah. All right, I got to ask then, what's your score prediction and what do you think is going to happen on Sunday?
Oh, I thought you might ask me this tomorrow, so I was not prepared.
You know what? Let's
but
save it for
I'll tell you
tomorrow.
what. I was going to say I could give you one today and then one tomorrow, and then I can pick which one I like better.
Okay.
I'll go 20-10 Vikings right now, and Brian Flores flexes on the team that gave him a lifeline but then let him walk back out the door. So that is my current prediction, subject to change for Thursday's show.
And maybe the other Rodgers, you know, for the Vikings is going to get into the
Oh
end zone
my
again.
gosh.
That was insane. I've never seen
Best
two pick sixes. Or
If
no,
you're
the
one of those
forced fumble.
sickos,
Yeah.
Cassidy, if you are one of those sickos running an individual defensive player fantasy football team where you still have that relic from like 2006, he had the greatest game in the history of that position. He really did.
Yeah, it was actually insane. Actually insane. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Chris, thank you for joining me. Like he said, we will be back here tomorrow night because Rich and Pomp are traveling 5 hours ahead, the time change, all that. But they will have reports for us from Dublin, so make sure to tune in on KDKA. Thanks again, Chris, and thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow night. Same place, same time.